Hey, this is George. Have you ever heard of Anchor.fm? It's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. Number one, it's free. Number two, there are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so you can hear it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Check out Anchor.fm on the iOS and Android systems.
Need psychotherapy online or in person? Check out tinyurl.com/THT psychotherapy.
Before we get to the interview, I just want to tell you about our newest sponsor, Union Signs and Printing. Union Signs and Printing is a union sign shop located near Chicago, Illinois, that specializes in the production of corrugated plastic lawn signs used in applications ranging from political and election usages to unions, schools, and businesses. They also produce a vast array of other products, including American-made, union-printed t-shirts, banners, bio cards, literature, door hangers, business cards, and trifold. Get a hold of Union Signs and Printing at 815-740-1688 or find them on the internet at unionsignsandprinting.com. And don't forget to tell them you heard about their services on the George Brassea Podcast.
Snowstorm forces Chicago Heights to close City Hall. Snowstorm forces Chicago Heights to close City Hall, Chicago Heights, Illinois. Snow was on everybody's mind at Wednesday night's Chicago Heights City Council meeting. The Chicago area was hit by a major snowstorm, and Chicago Heights had about 10 inches of snow dumped on it Tuesday and Wednesday. City Hall was closed Wednesday afternoon because of the winter storm, and garbage pickup on Wednesday and Thursday was also postponed. And students at Chicago Heights School District 163 went to remote learning Wednesday because of the storm. The mayor's chief of staff, Karen Zaranti, thanked city workers for their efforts. She told the council that city workers had been working round the clock to keep city streets open and safe, and would continue to do so throughout the duration of the storm. Fifth Ward Alderman George Brassea also lauded city workers, saying, "The snowstorm we have experienced in recent days has been terrible, but the City of Chicago Heights Public Works Department has done an excellent job in maintaining the roads during the snowstorm. Each and every resident's request that was submitted to my office was addressed in a quick and efficient fashion." Christopher Bykoskas, 4th Ward Alderman, added that Public Works is working diligently, doing a great job cleaning up the streets. In other business, Zaranti said that the city would be hosting its second Illinois Department of Public Health clinic offering vaccinations and booster shots 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Saturday, February 12 at City Hall. The council also approved an ordinance renewing the city's employee health insurance policy and premium. The city expects to see premiums remain roughly the same. The city's benefits and insurance consultant told the council that he was able to negotiate lower rates with its insurer, Blue Cross/Blue Shield PPO, despite higher prescription drug usage by the 231 employees covered under the policy. Snowstorm forces Chicago Heights to close City Hall.
The George Brassea Podcast is made possible with funding provided from Brassea Global Strategies, LLC, a leading political consulting, public policy, government affairs, and research firm. Are you interested in running for elected office? Need advice? Call or email George, 708-769-5015. Brassea Global Strategies 1@gmail.com.
I'm so glad to welcome Jake LaMore, host of the Kankakee County Podcast, to the George Brassea Podcast. Jake, thanks for coming on.
No, thank you, George. It's quite an honor. It's always a pleasure to be on someone else's podcast. It's something I'm always very thankful for. So thank you for that.
Jake, we were talking previously, and I guess you know my grandfather, George Brassea, the original. Tell the audience a little bit
Yeah.
about how you got to know my grandpa.
So, I was it was around 2000, I'm pretty sure. I remember being around 10 years old because that's when I started, believe it or not, becoming a volunteer at the public access channel in Mantino, TV4. And so when your grandfather moved to Mantino, he started volunteering there. So I met him there, and then also he started going to the church my family also went to, which was St. Joseph Church. And so we just got to know each other and saw each other, quite a bit as I grew up. And then once I graduated high school, I would just, see him out and about in different places and be like, oh yeah, how you doing? And it's been a while since I talked to him, and the last time I did was over the phone when I was working at the Valley 92.7 FM one Saturday morning. He called in and was saying hello, and I hope he is his. I'm trying to. Is your grandmother's name Barb? Right? It's Gladys.
Gladys.
Okay, I'm so sorry. I couldn't remember because I've seen George more than I've seen Gladys, I feel like. And I usually talk to George more than I would Gladys, but both wonderful people.
Definitely a unique guy, I gotta say. I'm named after him, so I can say that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's cool that the name is carried on to a third, though. I mean, that's I feel like that's unique to this day and age. It's not something you see too often anymore. So I always, whenever I come across someone that's a third or a second or a fourth or whatever, I always think that's really cool.
Well, my son is actually George Brassea the fourth. So.
Is he seriously, or are you joking?
Yeah, no, I'm dead serious.
Oh, okay. So you're keeping it going.
Keeping it going.
Huh. Wow. That's cool. That's awesome.
Jake, so if you've been in broadcasting since you were 10 years old, that's a long time. Tell us a little bit about what sparked your interest in broadcasting, podcasting, radio. It sounds like you got into it at an early age.
Yeah, it's I would say, what sparked it for me was old Hollywood films. I started watching those around the same time that I started volunteering at the TV station. And I remember watching an old Disney Channel movie. Well, it's old now, but at the time it was brand new. Um, and this would have been around 2000 as well. I can't remember the name of the movie now, but anyway, it starred Mickey Rooney in it, and of course, Mickey Rooney, comes from the 1930s, 40s, and 50s, but usually the 30s and 40s is usually when everyone remembers him the most. But in this movie, he played an old man, and I guess in my mind, I'm like, okay, this guy's old, so my grandparents probably know who this guy is, and I don't mean that to sound bad, but that I was 10 years old. That was just my thinking. So I remember asking my grandma LaMore. I said, "Do you know who Mickey Rooney is?" And she was like, oh, "Mickey Rooney, yes," and she told me all about him, and so then I started. She actually helped me get copies of some of his old movies with Judy Garland in them when I was 10 years old. Before Judy's career kind of skyrocketed with The Wizard of Oz and all that. Mickey Rooney and Judy Garland did a lot of musical movies together. And so I was able to order some of those movies on VHS, and then I would just really.
Jake, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, we had the internet kind of pop up and pop out. So I'm not sure if it caught the audio, but you saw a Disney movie with Mickey Rooney. You asked your grandparents about it, and then what happened?
So then I just started to get into, watching old movies and wanting to at that time, I didn't necessarily want to act in them. I wanted to make them. I wanted to be behind the camera or be the director or whatever. And so I started to get into that, and that's how volunteering at the local Channel 4 in Manteno came about, because I really liked shooting video and taking pictures and things like that. And as I got a little older and I started to get into my teenage years, I kind of the camera stuff and the broadcasting thing kind of went to the wayside a little bit, and I started to get into music, like punk rock type music. So then I started chasing that dream, and then I kind of left that in my early to mid 20s, and I came back. I came back to broadcasting, and instead of going back to doing TV, I was like, I've kind of always wanted to be on the radio. That's still music, right? Sort of. It's just another, channel, I guess. And so when I was 24 in 2014, I started to go to a 1-year broadcast school. It was called Illinois Media School at the time, or no, it's called Illinois Media School now. It had a different name then. And you kind of learned all the different facets of media broadcasting, whether it was TV or radio or internet. They just kind of went over all those things. And so, and then, usually you go to school, right? You need an internship. So I went to one of our local radio station clusters here in the Kankakee area, which was Milner Broadcasting at the time. They own the Valley, River Country, and WFAV. So I went there for an internship, and I was an intern only for, I don't know, 2 or 3 months, and they had an actual live on-air position open up on River Country for middays. And I was asked if I would be interested in auditioning for it. And I absolutely, of course, I wanted to, right? So I auditioned for it for 2 weeks. I sounded awful, but it was funny. At the end of the 2 weeks, they're like, you still don't sound great, but we think you're going to get better. So they hired me, and I still work for and it's not called Milner Broadcasting anymore. It's Milner Media. The Milner family sold to a group of partners, which still does include one of the Milner family members, Tim Milner, but he's partnered with 3 other people, and they run the company now. So it's still technically in the Milner family, but just one member. So that's how that's how the radio broadcasting thing started. And when I started going to Illinois Media School back in 2014, I actually started podcasting right away in order to gain experience behind the mic, because I thought, well, if I'm going to be on the radio, I'm going to need experience behind the mic. And one of my teachers, who's now one of my good friends, his name is Don Geisinger. He had been podcasting himself, and he suggested doing a podcast. And so that sounded very appealing to me. And so I guess I started podcasting before I started in radio, but there's not a big gap between the two. It's only a matter of, 3 months or something like that.
Jake, that's so interesting, because I think me and you were probably around the same age. And growing up, I was in quite a few punk rock garage bands. And
okay.
Was there a big scene in Kankakee growing up for that?
There was. And my oldest brother, Josh, was the one who really got me into rock and punk music and ska music. He's 4 years older than me. He had a band called Feature Presentation, and and it's funny because he introduced me to that genre of music right around the same time I started to get into broadcasting and stuff. But by age 13, I wanted to start a punk rock band. So I did. And the scene was great. There was a lot of kids our age starting bands too, and we'd always try to find places to play in the county, and a place would pop up that would allow us to do shows, and it was usually an existing business, not always though. Sometimes it would be community centers, or VFWs, or American Legion halls, and we'd be able to host shows there for a while, and then that would kind of fizzle out, and then we'd have to find a new place to host shows at. And so it thrived pretty well for a while. I have no idea what that I feel, from my knowledge, there's not a big scene for that currently in Kankakee County, but I could be wrong. As far as like the all ages thing goes, I mean, of course, there's plenty of music when you get into the more 21 and over crowd. There's plenty of different venues and bars and things like that people can play at. But as far as like teenagers getting together and putting on shows, I'm not sure how much of that is going on or not. I would like to think it's happening, and I just don't know it, because I think that's just incredible for people to do at such a young age, to have that ambition to host your own show and bring your own sound system and all that stuff.
Yeah, well, and some of that, I like to think this podcast is still a way for me, at least, to kind of engage in that kind of DIY kind of punk creation process now.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, absolutely.
Who was your favorite band, Jake, growing up?
I mean, it still is Green Day.
They're one of the GOATs of all time.
Yeah, it's just I can't, and I have so many, but they are one of my biggest influences. I was just hooked on them. I loved everything about them, their energy, their attitude. I was a huge fan even before American Idiot came out. But then when American Idiot came out, I was 14, and that just like sealed the deal for me. I remember going to the record store the day American Idiot came out. And I remember going into my other brother's room, Joe. He had like this big stereo, and I put the CD in his stereo, and of course the first song is American Idiot, and that had already been played on the radio a ton, so I was familiar with that song. So when I got to the second song, which is Jesus of Suburbia, I was just like, whoa. It's like, this is so different. It was just so mind-blowing to me, and I was like, this band is the band for me. So yeah. Other than Green Day, I'm a huge fan of Goldfinger. I love ska punk music. So like Real Big Fish. I love MXPX. Those are Less Than Jake. Those are some of my other all-time favorite bands too.
Yeah. Some great bands you just named there.
Thank you.
Jake, tell the audience a little bit about why you wanted to do a podcast on Kankakee County itself. So
I have always been fascinated with local history. Ever since I was a kid, I was always asking, the elderly or my grandparents about things that had happened here in the past. I remember one thing that I was super fascinated with, and I still am, was Lake Mantino. It is a man-made lake. It actually originally was a brick factory. They made bricks there, and this would have been I believe in the 1920s. And so when the factory closed up or whatever, they no longer needed to pump the water out of the big gigantic hole they dug, right? So they I guess they just kind of took the plug out, let the water fill up, and became Lake Manteno. And I was just always fascinated by that, thinking, wow, like there was a brick manufacturing place in Manteno, and it just goes on from there to all other things in the county. So I liked that our county has such a rich history, but coming to present day, I mean, things have changed so much. We don't have all the factories and warehouses